Hey everybody, it's Peter from the Kia Hyundai channel. Welcome to our live video series. Today we're doing a video that I've kind of wanted to do for a while, and it is the Kia Stinger versus the Kia EV6. And we're going to clarify which models we're talking about a little bit later in this video, just so you know exactly. But here's the way this works. This is a live video, and there will be a number of people that will be joining us in the next few minutes for that live video. If you're not watching us live and you just want to skip ahead to the actual content of this video, you can skip ahead if you want to that 3-minute mark. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about some news and some notes, and we'll talk about how to join us. If you want to join us tomorrow, we'll also be talking about the EV6 tomorrow. We're going to compare two different trim lines of that car. So if you want to join us, let me show you how to do that right now, and we'll do that for you. Hey, we got some regulars back here. All right. Okay, so jumping in here, if you want to join us, like I said, tomorrow we're going to be talking about the EV6 as well. This is how you do it. You come to our YouTube channel at exactly 2 o'clock Eastern time, which is what we're doing right now. And if you refresh that page at exactly 2 o'clock, you're going to see that the homepage video is replaced by our actual live videos. You're going to click into that. You're probably going to have to watch an ad, and while you're watching that ad for a other dealer at my end here, I'm going to skip that ad. While you're watching or skipping that ad, let's be real, I'm going to run a quick ad for the 3 dealers that support this channel: Brantford Kia, Brantford Hyundai, and Owen Sound Hyundai. So those are 3 dealers that support us. If you're looking to buy in Ontario, connect with me. There'll be a link in the description after this video is done, and I'll connect you up to our sales team. We sell all across Ontario, and we can help you out. All right, so that's the intro, news and notes. Let's see what we've got. About a minute and a half to go through things. Okay, so we got like 8 new cars in yesterday, which is a pretty good shipment. So a lot of you are hearing what's going on in Kia and Hyundai world right now. Let's go Kia specifically, just because we've got 2 Kias today. Can you order a car today? Technically, no. What we're doing here at our dealerships is, and I encourage you not to wait until you can order, is we're taking you and putting you on a list of things, or a list so that you can, when ordering opens up, we can order that car for you, because there will be many, many orders placed when that happens. So technically they're just catching up and getting what they need. We are still taking in cars, they're still delivering cars. We still have cars for you to test drive and that kind of thing, but technically placing an order right now is a little complicated because we can't. Inventory crunches along with demand, that's been very high. That's what's going on. So best thing to do is have a conversation with us if you're looking to buy a car. We can get yourself in line. You don't want to be waiting for the orders to open and then going to talk to a salesperson and being 500 cars behind where you could have been. So that's kind of what we're encouraging you to do that way. Other than that, news and notes, I got to ride a motorcycle today, so that was a good day. Got to do that. If you haven't seen my Instagram, you can go check that out on my story, and that'll just be for 24 hours. And yeah, we got another 10 seconds to go. So do me a favor, if you're a regular with us, I've been gone for about 5 or so weeks away from here. So do me a favor, hit the like button. Let's tell some of the other regulars that we're back, and you can do that. But if we all hit the like button together, we'll get there. All right, we're 3 minutes in. Let's get going with this video. All right, so this is a video, like I said, that I've wanted to do for a while. And just so we're clear, I have a couple spec sheets here just to refresh my memory on anything that I might need to know. This is a 2022 Kia Stinger. Now, my spec sheet for the Stinger is a 2023 Kia Stinger. And the only reason that matters is this color is no longer available in 2023. But we want to talk about the car as if you were ordering one today, and therefore, if there's any change, which there really isn't, but if there's anything that I'm missing, the spec sheet that I'll be referring to is a 2023 car. They're basically identical, except for, like I said, this color won't be available for a 2023 model. Same thing with the EV6. This happens to be 2022 model. If you order one, it'll be a 2023. So really, they're comparable, but we don't expect any changes in the EV6 or 2023. And you can order, or when you can order one, that likely will be a 2023 as well. Because, there's lots of wait times right now. Stinger, obviously, you can get a little sooner than that, sooner than the EV6. But these cars are comparable because this is our flagship performance car. This is also 2023 will be the last year of the Kia Stinger in Canada, and it has essentially been replaced by this as our flagship performance car. And we're going to talk about what that means, if that's a good thing, a bad thing, and it will really depend on who you are and what you like in a particular car. So just real quick, bio, resume, biases, let's get that out of the way. When the Kia Stinger first launched, I got to go down to LA for Kia USA, Kia America. They did a professional film shoot, and I got to help launch this car through a professional film shoot in LA. I've been around the Stinger since the beginning. I'm a fan of it. I've taken it out on the racetrack with professional drivers. I've taken it out on a racetrack driving myself with professional drivers beside me, teaching me how. I've spent time with this car as a performance car, and I know it quite well. Now, that's the Stinger. The EV6, obviously I've spent less time with it. It hasn't been around as long. I have been living with this car for the past week, doing everything I want to do in it, and kind of getting to know not just how it is to go on a test drive, but how it is to actually live with. And I've also become quite familiar with that car. There are still things I don't know about this car. Like I said, I was away for a little while. I'd like to spend some more time with it, and I will continue to do that. But I think I'm in a pretty good position to talk about some pros and cons of each and some differences between the two, and that's really what this video is going to be about. Some of the differences between if you choose this car or if you choose that car. And those of you that are still hanging on here, wondering what's going on, it's going to be about a half an hour in-depth review right now. So grab your snacks, grab your beverages, you might need them, and we'll go through these cars right now. So let's start with the keys, just so I can put them in my pocket. Let me just put them on the table because it's a little easier here. All right, EV6 key, let's just do it the other way around. Stinger key on the right, EV6 key on the left. You can see they're quite similar, but there is a significant length difference to the EV6. You can see it's much longer. We'll talk about those buttons there in a second there. Most of the buttons here are on the side as well. So EV6, you've got lock, if I can get it focused there, unlock, the trunk button, which is a power tailgate, the horn button to honk the horn. And you've got this one, a remote start on the side, and then you've got lock, unlock, remote trunk, and the horn button there as well. So a little bit smaller key. Previous Kia Stingers, previous to the redesign that happened for the 2022 model year, used to have a unique key with a round button here and more of a leather feeling. If you've had a previous Kia Stinger, you now have a more of a plastic feeling to this. Little disappointment for me. It's basically the same key you would have if you had a really nice Kia Seltos or a Kia Forte or something like that. So little downgrade in the Kia Stinger key, but you do have the remote start on there, and I think people will appreciate the function over the little bit more style in the previous key. But again, you do have the new logo and that kind of thing. So one benefit to both these keys is they can go in my pocket. Somebody says, do a drag race. You know what? We should do a drag race. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. It's really nice weather. Let's get somebody else to do it with me. I don't know. We'll see. We might make that and launch it. We don't have a lot of space, so we'll have to do it on private property, that kind of thing. All right, so couple differences before we get in the car. First thing you're going to notice driving these cars, the Stinger is not a sporty car, like a car with a lot of power or some cars they put a bigger engine in, becomes a sports car. It's not really a sports car until it's designed from the ground up to handle as well as have good power. And this car, what I like about it is because it was designed from the ground up, it is a true sports car. Now, it's not hyper extreme track car. That's a different thing again. That's more of the N-line models of Hyundai. But you do notice this is a very fun handling car. Not only does it have good grip once you get it to the track and get it around, even in the all-wheel drive model in the sport mode, you can kind of dance that rear end around. You can make it move around. There is an emotion tied to driving this car at the limit. However, most people are not going to do that on the road, and that's kind of where this car comes in. This car, although it doesn't really dance the same way at a racetrack level, on-street performance is equal to, or in many cases better, and that starts with power numbers. And I want to be really clear about the EV6. There are some differences in the vehicle. 225 horsepower and 258 is the base model. That's not what we're talking about today. 167 and 258 is the base model. You can go up to 225 and 258. These ones are not the cars we're talking about. This particular car has 320 horsepower and 446 foot-pounds of torque, and that is significantly more torque than this car, which has 368 horsepower, so more horsepower, and 376 foot-pounds of torque. Now, the torque in a gas engine, you have to use multiple gears to work through. So you always, when you rev a car, the tach revs up and you feel that, but you're not really hitting maximum torque until about 1,300 to 4,500 RPM. So again, you're in the torque band no matter what gear you're in, right above 1,300 RPM. But the horsepower of 368, you don't reach until 6,000 RPM, whereas instant torque in this car and significantly more torque, you feel the punch in that car much quicker. That being said, this one has some more emotion to it. So let's jump in the car. We're gonna go driver's seat to driver's seat, rear seat to rear seat, trunk space to trunk space, some lighting differences, and we'll go through there and explain what we're seeing. So we'll go as quickly as we can. Now, a couple things you're gonna notice. Flagship cars, this car was originally brought out in 2017 was the first video I did it, but 2018 model year. And there are some things that are kind of unique. You have a powered telescopic and tilt wheel. You have some unique seats here with really good adjustments. One of my favorite adjustments on this seat, actually there's a couple things. This piece here can lengthen the front out here, and it really lengthens the seat. So customized seating position, you can really get that if you're a taller or shorter person. And same thing here, not just a lumbar support, four-way lumbar support, so you can move your lumbar in, out, or up or down. And then this little piece right here, What that does is it squeezes tighter or wider. So if you're a narrower, thinner person, it can squeeze tight and fit you, hold you close in there. And that's what you would expect of a performance car. You want to be held in your seat. If you're a little bit bigger person, you can widen it out and do that with all this. So the seating is, frankly, from a technological standpoint, better in the Stinger. Now, that being said, is it more comfortable? Does it make more sense? Well, you do sit lower in this vehicle than you will in the EV6. The EV6 has a battery underneath this. This one doesn't. It has a powertrain out front, just a driveline down the middle. There are some pros and cons to that. Let's take a look at the dash here as well. Having been a car that was designed in 2017 for a 2018 model year, you see analog gauges here. Now, this was redesigned for a 2022 model year. It's going to keep the climate control off. But you'll see that you still don't have a full digital dash. Now, this section here, when I turn on my signals, there's a camera in the mirror that will show me behind my blind view monitor. We'll do that in the EV6 because in this car, I need to start it in order to show you that feature. And when I show you that feature in this car, starting it, of course, there's emissions. I can start the EV6 and there won't be any emissions. But you do see that same camera view that you'll see in a few minutes down the side of the car in here. So you have a full color display, which really gives you all the information you need. But I think sometimes some people who are traditionalists like their gauges in analog gauges. It's a simple glance. You can sort of see what you're doing. And of course, if you want the speedometer in the middle here, you can do that. We can come down here and, oops, that's not the one. Let's go over to, where am I? Information. There we go. Speedometer down the center there. So if you want a digital speedometer, anything you want digitally, you can pretty much get digitally. And there's also a heads-up display in both of these cars. It is very difficult to film heads-up displays. This one has a slightly smaller heads-up display. So it's a little bit smaller display screen in your window, essentially. And you can see it's fading out there just because of the way the camera interacts with it. But you do have heads-up display on both these cars. And then, of course, for 2022, this car had an upgraded screen here, which is the 10.25 inch screen. And you have a lot of really nice software in here. You've got your HD radio data in both of these cars. This is something I always like to show. It doesn't always work in our video bay here, but you can see here you've got our, you can see not a cloud in the sky outside there. It's a nice blue sky. And you can see that's reflected here in our radar here. So just some cool things that people don't expect to see in this car. Obviously, this is a 2/3, 1/3 split screen, or you can go full screen. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, you can throw that in a full screen situation. And if you're wondering about the Android Auto, it's recently been updated to be now full screen. It wasn't full screen before on some of our cars, but that was an Android Auto update, which they've done. So that's kind of a nice thing. So overall, you sit nice and low in the car. The overall look of the dash, very airplane-like. You have these these vents here, which are pretty cool when you can close them off. They have a nice tactile feel to them. There's a little bit of a click on and a click off. That actually closes the vents, and obviously you can aim them anywhere you want. But good feel overall to all the materials here. Same thing over here. Very luxury feeling when you push that up. You've got a cell phone or a wireless charger there. USB-A port and a 12-volt port only along with your wireless charger. But then press this. And again, just closes, no rattles, no squeaks, no nothing, just nice and smooth. And it's sort of a digital style shifter. So we use a dial style digital shifter in the EV6, but here you have the traditional-ish shifter. Feels traditional, but it works a little bit differently. Then you have heated and ventilated seats with tactile buttons in here as well. Tactile button for the heated steering wheel. 360 camera. Let's see if we can bring it up here. Both these cars have 360 cameras. Again, this one's on the 10.25 inch screen, so you can really see all the way around your car. You can see just if you're parallel parking, there's both sides of the car there if you want to see in front of you. And if you put it in drive, you would see the car in front of you as well. So same type of camera system, a lot of the same technology in that way. Coming down over here, let's hit that camera button again. Come down over the steering wheel, you have paddle shifters here, which actually do shift you through an 8-speed transmission. And that's really where the emotion comes in this car. A little bit more power. For 2022, they increased the sound. Of course, an EV doesn't make sound. Sort of. It can make sound if you want. But they do have an increased sort of exhaust sound in this car. And they also have an artificial exhaust sound that enhances that. And really what that does is fills in some of the stuff that is filtered out through the noise insulation in the car. So you can turn that on or off. You can turn it up or down, that kind of thing. But yeah, having paddle shifters moving through the gears is part of what makes this car kind of fun. It is also part of what makes this car feel slightly slower off the line, or at, let's say if you're going around at 80 kilometers an hour and floor it, the EV6 is going to punch you back in your seat, whereas this one's going to downshift, maybe even 2-3 gears, and then give you power that builds to full torque or builds to full horsepower, whereas the EV6 has that instant no downshift. You touch the pedal and you've jerked back in your seat. And again, That's what kind of makes a gas car fun, but also different than the EV. So overall, updated buttons here. You've got the star button, which you can program to many different things on the steering wheel now instead of just the hang up button there. So that's kind of the basics here. You have memory seats here. You can also choose your different users over here, which we'll talk about a little bit in the EV6. There is on the Stinger a garage door opener here in Canada. This is the HomeLink system. You have a garage door opener on Stinger. They took that out of the EV6, which I definitely feel is a mistake. We'll have to see if we can find an accessory situation to help you with that on the EV6, but that's just something to keep in mind. Overall driver environment, shorter, big single panel sunroof, and you're gonna see something similar in the EV6, which we're gonna go check out right now. So do me a favor, guys, if you're a regular, let's see if we can get a like button. So what we're gonna do is go through the same basic stuff on the EV6, and then we're gonna go take your questions before we go rear seat and trunk space, really headroom, legroom, that kind of thing, and go through there. So jumping into the EV6, again, at this point, this is our top of the line car. Now there will be a GT model coming out. This is a GT line all-wheel drive with that 442 foot-pounds of torque. We're talking 500 plus horsepower and torque numbers in the GT, but of course we have no official specs, so I won't even talk about that. But you can see there's some differences here. The seat really has less features than the Stinger. It's less of a sports car style seat. That being said, it does have good bolstering. This one has that sort of suede type feeling, which holds you nicely in the seat. Although it doesn't lengthen out front, I think most people will be fairly comfortable. And although this is a taller car, headroom's probably not a whole lot more, because underneath here you do have a battery pack, which flattens the floor. You can see it's a nice big flat floor here. The illusion of space is definitely here, but let's just pop in for a second. As a 6-footer, moving the seat down, even though you sit taller, headroom is probably similar in both cars. This seat's moving forward just because of the way I got in. Again, large panel in this panoramic sunroof. You've got this nice style LED lights up there. But really what you're gonna notice when you jump in is this display screen, or this display. Now it is 2 screens, and when we turn the car on, you can see what I'm talking about. That comes to life there, and that comes to life there. Now what you don't see on video is that this screen is a 12.3 inch display screen from there to there versus a 10.25. So it is noticeably larger here, and this one matches that size. And the overall feeling of over 2 feet of screen space here is very, very impressive right off the bat. So when we talked about those signals, let's talk about that. Now I can see my blind spot when I signal left, and I can see my blind spot when I signal right. Again, the Kia Stinger has the exact same thing. It's just centered in the dash between your actual gauges. Here you have a dash that any piece of it is adaptable to do various things. However, it doesn't change as much as you would think it could. And I think the reason for that is no matter what screen you have this in, no matter what drive mode or anything else, you have the predictable things where you want it. Your speed is always in the same spot. Your charge, your range, that kind of thing is always in the same spot. So really, although it's very adaptable, and they really make use of this area well to do things like, you know, just your driver information type center, which we'll do another video on to explain some of that things. Very, very good use of displays in here. Again, a more modern car designed not for 2017, 2018, but designed for 2021, 2022. But they really do a good job of using this space. And then the other thing they do is the heads-up display. Now you really can't see it here. An advantage to the EV6, oh, it faded out of the camera here. So again, this is something that, you know, when you film LED lights, they flicker. When you film some of these heads-up displays, they kind of flicker away. So let's see if we can get that there. Yeah, that heads-up display there, it is going to flicker out in a little bit, but this heads-up display is massive. It's much bigger, kind of matches that idea of the 12.3 inch screen here. And they have what's called an augmented reality display. And what that does is, for instance, let's say you're in smart cruise control and there's a car in front of you. Car comes in, there's a little blue line that will be, if you line it up correctly, once you set it up, it will be on the bumper of the car in front of you. And as that car moves forward, that blue line will go there. And then as the car pulls away, the blue line stays. And it gives you an idea of when you're in smart cruise control, when a car comes to that, or when you pull up to the, put that blue line essentially on the bumper of the car in front of you, the car will slow down. So you have a visual reference. You also have visual references of navigation, where to turn. So the augmented reality lines up with the road lines, and it works really well. We'll do another video on that as well in the future. Technology. A little bit more in here. Some of the things like the radar or the HC radio data that we showed you before. You still have the Doppler radar there, same thing. Very quick responding screen. In fact, I think it's a little quicker than the Stinger as well. You have all sorts of EV information because obviously this is an EV. We can go through that in a future video as well. But yes, similar but different and a little bit better technology in here. The ambient lighting is available in both cars, probably a little bit more impressive in this car. You can customize it to virtually any color you want in both of these vehicles. It says 64 colors. One day I'll prove that it's a few more than 64, but we'll do that some other time. So again, ambient lighting just kind of everywhere, including down on the floor. And again, that flat floor gives the illusion of space. Over here, instead of paddle shifters, you can adjust your regenerative braking. Now, if you've never driven an EV, again, that's probably another video as well. But you can drive this car with a one-pedal drive system. Right now, the regenerative braking is set to level 3. You can tap one of the buttons and you can have it set up so that when you let off the accelerator pedal, it can slow down to a complete stop if you wanted it to. A couple things that are different with the EV6. They've done this. It's not going to be everybody's favorite thing, although I think it works well. It's not my favorite thing. This system here is essentially your radio controls, right? Well, it can also be your climate controls. You can see if you went to adjust your volume and it was set here, you would just crank your temperature. So it's the one thing to keep in mind. Most of the time in an EV especially, you're going to leave it on the auto climate control, and just you have the basic climate control still there and your radio controls here, your volume is here. But if you wanted to have your passenger be able to adjust their own temperature, they do have to switch it to go over there. So little something that gives you a nice clean look. But for the first week of ownership, it's going to take a little bit of an adjustment to have to switch between those. Most of the time, like I said, you leave the climate at a temperature that you like. Let's leave it at 21 degrees, for instance. And then you're just going to flip it back and just let the car keep you at that temperature, whether it needs heat or cool or whatever else. Actually, what I'm going to do right now is turn the whole system off, which I can do just to keep things quiet. Little difference as well, there's a USB-C port down there to go along with a USB port there. And push button start is down here in that center console. And of course your shifter, which really just does drive, neutral, and reverse, works quite well. It's simple there. The wireless phone charging is out here in the open, and you can see this car has been used by many people. I don't drink coffee. That wasn't me. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We've only got about 9 minutes left in this video to get the content done. I'm gonna go take your questions. We're gonna go rear seat and trunk space. We'll talk about some lighting things, and then we'll go answer your questions again. So do me a favor, guys. We've only got 28 likes so far, a few less than normal. Let's see if we can get up to 50 likes in this video. We're gonna go answer your questions right now. I'll turn this car off, and we'll go do that. A couple other things I wanted to mention really quickly as we're going over there. Memory seats on both these cars. I think the Stinger's the same way, but when you change the user, you can set up different users here. Driver 1, driver 2, and guest, which you can rename to your own name. Peter and Pat have been driving this car, so we could rename it to our own cars. When you switch between the users, a lot of things change. Ambient lighting, climate settings, radio stations, seating position, they all change from what you would have for the one driver to the other. So it makes it really easy to customize this car just for yourself. And when you think about it, sharing a modern car, especially when you share all these screens and technologies and safety features, when you're sharing that car, you want to try to make sure that the settings are set up for you. It's kind of like sharing a cell phone, right? It'd be weird to share someone else's cell phone. You want it set up for you. Same sort of thing on this car. You can really customize it for yourself. All right, let me go through some of the questions here. And if there's a few, I may leave some till the end just because we're a little tighter on time. Spend a little more time in the going through. All right, a couple people said, good to see you back. Yeah, thanks. It's nice to be back. Okay, what do we got? Read that there's an update for Kia vehicles with a 10.25-inch screen in the US. Is it available in Canada yet? My understanding is there's an update for instance, my Kia Soul, which has the 10.25-inch screen. What I plan to do is film exactly how to download that, what happens with it, and then I'm going to install it in my car and show you some of the differences. So I plan to do that video next week on my own personal car. It is available, but if you want to know how to do it, that's a great reason to subscribe to our channel. We'll go through that 10.25-inch screen update next time. Peter versus Gabby in the drag race, not fair. She would have a weight advantage to me, but yeah, I can do that. I don't know if I want to drive beside Gabby though. I haven't seen her drive. I've seen her drive in here late for work, and that's, you know, that's pretty quick. All right, Stinger reminds me of the G8. That's an interesting thing. It's a much more modern car than that, but I can see some similarities. I think the people who drive that car would like this car. I love the EV6. Unfortunately, I live in an apartment in Calgary, so nowhere to plug in. Yeah, charging networks are really expanding. It can depend on where you live. The reliability of charging networks is something that needs to improve across the country. Where I live right now, they're pretty good. It's not an issue, and most EV buyers charge at home. If you can't charge from home, you need to rely on those charging networks, and that's where you need to have to be sure that it works out. How many kilometers did I add to the Santa Cruz driving all over the place last month? I don't know. Not as much as you might think. We'll talk about all that in a later video. How many trim packages on the EV6? So off the top of my head, rear-wheel drive short range, rear-wheel drive long range, all-wheel drive long range, all-wheel drive GT1, GT2, So whatever I just said, that's how many there are. All right, let's go rear seat to rear seat, trunk to trunk, and then we'll keep going through here. So Stinger first. I only peeled one section of the rear seat. You can see this is how these cars come. Oh, I didn't even put the seat back up. Come on, Peter. So it is a hatchback, and it has fold down seats. Stinger seats, again, they look really nice. You've got some nice features down here. 3 levels of heated seats on the rear seats. Now that's seat bottom only. Really quickly, let's just make it right. The front seat on both these cars would have moved back, so we're gonna move it forward to where it needs to go. Let me just do that for a second here. Okay, so this is where I would need to be for driving. We're gonna pop in the rear seat here. As we do that, you'll see how much space I have as a 6-footer. Let's jump over to me. As we do that here, Stinger is a lower car. It's a little tougher to get in and out of. If you are someone with bad knees that are worse than mine, because mine aren't great, it's something you need to consider. Headroom, okay, pretty good for a sports car, very good for a sports car. Legroom as well, very good legroom for, again, a 6-footer here, 6-footer there. My legs aren't quite flush to the seat, but they're pretty close. Something like a Tesla Model 3, terrible. My knees are up on my chest pretty much, so that's not ideal. Toes are just tucked underneath the front seat. If you were wearing work boots, you probably wouldn't be able to do that there. But again, rear seat space in the Stinger was a priority. It is designed to fit an adult. One thing you're going to notice, big difference between these two cars, is on a rear-wheel drive gasoline car, you need to run a drivetrain down the middle. In a lower car, you need a taller pillar or a taller bump in the middle there, and you do have a tall bump. So middle seat passenger, although legally you can put a person here, practically you're just not going to. Again, ignore the white strip here. That's just shipping plastic here. You've got the vents back here, cold and hot. You can adjust that temperature right there. You do have a regular USB-A and a 12-volt port there as well, so your guests are somewhat taken care of with what they need. Again, those heated seats. The plastic back seats, not shipping plastic. Let's just rip that off. There we go. Sorry for hitting the camera. This is a plastic backed seat where you can just wipe it clean very easily, and you do have the pockets, both driver and passenger. I should mention the stereo systems in both these cars. That should be another video as well. Both are fantastic. EV might have a slight advantage, in part because a car that makes very little to no noise, just right away will have a better stereo system. All right, we did turn this car off, so same thing. We're gonna put the seat back where I need it, and currently it has a setup where you turn the car off, it moves back a little bit, and you can turn that off if you don't want that to happen, but I didn't do that, so that's what makes for a poor video. All right, let's jump into, we'll keep it here, the rear seat here. Much, much larger rear seat here. So you can see the advantage. Now, headroom, it is what it is. Rear seats here, they can sit very upright. They can sit way, way back. If they go way back, my headroom's tight. If you sit in any kind of comfortable, normal position, you're good. Legroom, kind of the same thing. My legs aren't quite fully on the seat like they would be in the Sportage that we did yesterday, but it's very good and certainly better than the Tesla Model 3 or something like that. LED lighting up here is quite bright and very good. There is an armrest in the middle here as well. And then legroom is immense, much more space here. And again, having this flat floor down here means that you have much more space. Sticking a passenger in the middle here, middle row seat, very, very doable here. You're just gonna see here that you don't see any vents or any USB ports. Well, that's okay, they're taken care of by putting a USB-C port in the seat of both seats, driver and passenger, and having vents a little up higher and a little bit closer to the driver or to the driver's side and passenger side up there. Only other difference is you've got a little coat hanger style thing up here, and that's exactly what this is designed for, to be a coat hanger. And you have 2 levels of heated seats here instead of 3 levels of heated seats in the rear seats. So rear seat comfort and really overall comfort, you can't really go wrong with the EV6. Stinger is very good for comfort, but it's a sports car first and a luxury car very close second. It's a 1A kind of luxury vehicle. Now, coming into the trunks, both of these trunks, let's just flip the camera around, are power operated, and so you can tap them. You can set them up so you just approach them with the key and they'll open on their own. Both are hatchbacks. Hatchbacks have a huge advantage of being able to take that panel out, fold those seats down, and fit very, very large items here. But around this dealership, what we do is we use our teddy bear test to measure the trunk. And the reason we do the teddy bear, although Gabby has done some luggage things, is I like to compare between cars. And frankly, if you have golf clubs or luggage or anything else that you want to test, I encourage you to come into the dealership and fit them yourself. Now, the Stinger is a little tighter than it would be for a typical Kia product. Typical Kia products really carve out the space in here, but you've got an adaptive suspension system that you can firm up and soften up. And when you have that in here, you've got large wheels that fit into those suspension things on a fairly low car, and you do have a little bit more wheel intrusion. That being said, for a sports car, you have a very, very large trunk. And again, this panel would squish Teddy's tummy just a little bit when it came down, but very good. Teddy bear and a half, easily. Again, for a sports car, it's very good. Now, the EV6 isn't going to get by on just sports car credentials. It has to get by on overall space, and it is bigger here. So lengthwise, probably similar, but Teddy has some more width in the car. You can see it's kind of carved out a little bit better, so he's not squished with his head. And again, lengthwise here, probably similar. Underneath the floor here, you do have a cargo blind right now, which we could put in up over here, which would easily close over Teddy's, you sort of pull it like a cargo blind or like a regular window blind over top of them. And again, if you want to keep it with you when you hide it, you put it down there. Both these cars have seats that fold down. Once you fold down these seats, it does open to a larger area there as well. All right, 30 minutes in. Should we do lighting? I think we should just do lighting for a quick second. I'm going to take Teddy Bear out of here because I left him in the Sportage the other day and I almost lost Teddy Bear. And we've been down that road before, and that was a tough 6 or 8 weeks without him. All right, so what we're gonna do is turn on the lighting on both these cars, do a quick comparison, a quick little check of that, and we'll go back to your questions. I know we're a little over time. We were going for about 50 likes. We got 75 people on, so during our live videos, so if you wanna do me a favor, if you're live with us, let me just turn the car on, because you don't need to look at me. We will turn the headlights on here for a second. So I'm gonna turn the car fully on, turn the headlights fully on. We're gonna turn the left side signal on. So that's what you see right there. And we'll just leave that there. Anyways, we are looking for probably 50 likes. We got 47 now, so there we go. Okay, we'll come back to this in just 1 second. Get the Stinger to the on position, but not started, because again, gas car, on and left side signal there. So, couple things I like. Let's start with the EV6. Both of them have those 360 cameras. When you signal and you're driving, you can see there's a big camera bump down there, a little bit less visible on the Stinger, which we'll show you in a second there. But it does give you that view of your blind spot down there. It's nice to have. Now, LED lighting built in here. Camera's gonna have some trouble picking up that flashing light, so we'll start with this side. You can see that white dashed lighting. That is your daytime running light. Headlights are on, and that's what you've got. When you turn your signal on the EV6, that top portion turns into a flashing amber light. You can see nice sharp cutoff LED lighting. And as we take a look over here, you can see fairly sharp cutoff. Not quite as precise as the Stinger, but again, very useful, very good lighting. That white LED lighting is really good for identifying things at night. So over here, same thing. LED lights can be hard to film. So if these start to flicker like they are now, they're not flickering in real life. They just sort of flicker on camera. But there is a white LED light. Again, that is your daytime running light. The bright headlights there when you come, and you can see a little bit more of a sharper line here on the Stinger. And again, it looks yellow on camera, but it's very white compared to a little bit less sharp line there. Very, very similar, but just a really defined line on the Stinger. And then you have LED front signals as well on this car, which are down underneath there, have some character to them as well. And again, ignore that flickering light. That's just the way of the camera. Coming over here, again, the little bump for the camera on the side, LEDs in both mirrors there. And then LED signal lights in the rear as well. Again, the rear of the Stinger has been redesigned for 2022. So you used to have those sort of surround lights here. Now you've got a light across. Again, the flicker, don't worry about that. LED lights through there. Backup lights on this car are right there and right there. Backup lights on the EV6 down in the center right here. Not lit up right now, but they are down there in the center. Very cool detail visually. To me, this is a little bit more of an interesting tail light. So in Canada, you have this light here. That extra flickering you're seeing is just the LED lights interacting with the camera. You don't see that at all in real life. They're very, very precise in real life. There is very much a 3D feel to these lights when you see them in person. A little bit harder to film, but there's a precision here. There's a small little dotted, slotted lines or diamond thing up here, and then the little lines down low. Little more precision to the light there, but again, very good on both. LED license plate lights here. I'm not sure about the Stinger. We'll just check that out in a second there. So there you go. Very unique rear ends to both, especially the EV6. Once you get used to seeing it, it won't be mistaken for anything else. Are these ones LED in here? They are. They are white LED as well. So there is your review, your comparison review. We got the 50 likes. We hit our goal of the EV6 versus the Kia Stinger. Let's talk which one I would buy. People always want to know which one I would buy. as if what I would buy is what you should buy. First of all, keep in mind, I already drive a Kia Soul EV, so I do like EVs. I also drive a Hyundai Santa Cruz. A Hyundai Santa Cruz I absolutely love, but it's not something I would recommend for everybody. Most people are gonna be better suited with a crossover, or most people who want a pickup truck may be better suited with a pickup truck. So what I like shouldn't matter to you. I went back and forth on which one I would prefer. The reality is the Stinger has more passion. It's probably a little more engaging to drive for sure. The steering feel, the immediacy, you can really tell a car built from the ground up to be a sports car versus a car that just had a little bit extra power added and they call a sports car. The Stinger is phenomenal to drive, especially on the racetrack. And there's no way if I was going to a racetrack or really driving sporty all the time, there's no way I would not pick the Stinger. However, I actually think I would pick the EV6. And the reason is, electric is the way of the future. I like the instant torque. I really like the feel of the sort of spaciousness of that car. And I like some of the technology. But if you gave me either one, there's no way I would say no. Both would be great. So let's take a few quick little questions here, and we'll wrap the video up in the next couple minutes here. So I do appreciate you guys staying on. All right, someone says, thanks for reviews. Thanks. Are these cars available in the US? Yes, they are. Can you please do a full in-depth tour of the new Kia Sportage X-Line Limited? I can, but I won't because I have. We may come back to that X-Line Limited, but there is one online. So if you search Kia Hyundai channel in the YouTube bar, and then you put Sportage X-Line or Sportage X-Line if you're American, but Sportage X-Line, you will see that, or X-Line Limited, you will see that review there. I have a 2019 Stinger and an EV6 on order. There you go. So the one thing I think that's interesting is I think there's a camp of people who are like, no, I need my car to have gears, make noise, and have fun. And they will not consider an electric vehicle. And there's people that will be electric vehicle people. No, I need my car to not make noise, not have pollution, not have to get gas, or at least pollution at the pump or at the tailpipe. So I need to have an EV. But I think there's a real mix of people who say, hey, I want a really good technology car that's great to drive. And I think you're the kind of person that may appreciate both of these. And that's kind of where I am in these. I just think they're both really good at what they do. The real thing is they're class leaders. A real good performance car in the Stinger, but an everyday performance car, not a intense that you can't drive on the roads. And the EV6 is very good. In Montreal, the wait time for an EV6 is 18 to 24 months. Yeah, it's going to be similar. It's going to be, you're going to be into about a year or so, maybe a little bit more. I haven't, to be honest, I've been away for a few weeks here, so I haven't checked their latest. But there is that. All right. So there we go. I think we're going to leave it right that. Tucson or Sportage, whichever one you want. Both excellent. Depends on your preferences. We'll talk about them again later. So I want to thank everyone for watching. Again, tomorrow we're going to come back. If you're interested in the EV6, I do want to compare the two trim lines. Well, I happen to have them in the store here. Again, inventory is tight, so when we have vehicles, we try to get them on at the same time. So we will be talking tomorrow the two different trims, both all-wheel drive trims, both long range of the EV6. We'll see you again live tomorrow at that. So that's Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern time. We'll see you then. Thanks everybody for watching.